o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. We could all please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Christina, you have our roll?
Yep.
And I will look for approval of this evening's agenda.
I'll move to approve this evening's agenda.
And a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. The agenda is approved. And then we will pass it right off for the economic impact report.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you should introduce her by name.
I'm not trying it. She said Ronnie.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ronnie Bhattacharya. I am a community economic extension educator with University of Minnesota Extension. I've been working in Northwest Minnesota for about 15 years, and I am here to serve communities like yours. And today I would like to present the results of our economic impact of a fabric plant and outlet store in Beltrami County. Aiden Opaz is a newer member of my team who has just started doing economic impact analysis, which is why this economic impact analysis only includes wage information and not output information like our traditional ones do. But before I get more into that, I would like to say that the University of Minnesota is a research-based institution. We conduct research and then we provide education to add value to greater Minnesota. Most of our work is done in greater Minnesota with Extension, and we are affiliated with the Twin Cities campus. My specific department, the Community Development Department, mission is to make a difference by engaging Minnesotans to strengthen the social, civic, and economic capacity of their communities. And we help communities choose their futures by informing the decisions they make, improving the processes they use and make decisions, enhancing the skills and ability and confidence of people who lead and decide, and increasing the number of people who step up and lead and decide. In our department, we have Community Economics, my program, Leadership and Civic Engagement, which is a program that's run by Jody Hornbeck. You've heard that name. And then we have the Tourism Center, which is run by Shimi Cran. And they do visitor profile studies, community tourism assessments, things like that. The goals of the Community Economics program include helping communities establish supportive business-to-business networks, supporting local leaders that are engaged in active economic development efforts with the resources to make informed decisions, supporting residents in understanding the needs and aspirations of local businesses or economic development actions that they would like to have the community take, ensuring that the businesses have access to infrastructure and resources, and ensuring that communities have an adaptive capacity when faced with change. Adaptive capacity is the ability of communities and their leaders to adapt and respond to economic, demographic changes in a positive, inclusive, and productive way. And the agenda today will include background of the project, how we got kind of looped in with Scott, and I'll go over what the direct effects are, what the indirect effects are, and what this means. Also what the induced effects are, the estimated total impact, secondary effects, and possible tourism effects, and then we can have a discussion. And so in learning about the closure of the shear store in Blackduck, I did reach out to Dan Anderson with the Headwaters Regional Development Commission, and he connected me with Scott to better understand if the community would be interested in emergency economic impact analysis. At the time, Scott had a lot of other things on his mind, I think. And he reconnected with one of my colleagues, Michael Darger, at the conference down in the Twin Cities. And my colleague, Michael Darger, connected me with Scott again. And this time Scott was like, hey, let's do it. It's free, let's do it. So we got together and had a discussion with our two analysts. Our senior analyst is named Bridget Tuck, and our new analyst is named Aiden Opaz. He's just started about a year ago. And this presentation and the report is covered by the EDA Center. And the report actually uses secondary data from a software called Implan and Lightcast, which is a generative AI that scrolls the internet for job opening information. So that's how we get a lot of our wages and earnings, things like that. And then we were also given the Warren profile that Scott received from the shade store. And we then validated the report with Scott prior to tonight's meeting. So we wanted him to make, like, if the numbers made sense and if everything seemed cohesive to him. And so after that, I'll go now into the direct effects of the closure. The original company wages that would be missing from the community would be about 6,403,028 in wages, and that is going towards 116 jobs. And we can't be for sure how many of those jobs are in Beltrami County and how many are coming from like Couchiching County or Cass County or other places, but we know that there's a total of 116 jobs that equals that total amount of wages. And direct effects usually mean effects that are generated from production from that facility or from that company. It's the actual wages generated by the company in producing the good or service that it provides on the market.
So not necessarily the 6 million is the actual wages of the people that work there.
Yeah.
It is.
It is
On a duration of how long?
1 year. And the indirect effects are jobs that are lost from the absence of supplier purchases in the county. So that would be like if the shade store was purchasing the newspaper for its employees to read, that would be one of the supplies that is now lost. So it's no longer purchasing 116 newspapers for its employees. And those are a total of 33 jobs, or $1,842,990.
So, does that count like your electric bill, that kind of stuff?
Yep,
So.
it
anything
doesn't,
Like the purchase that the company is making.
it's not accounting for the electric bill that the company was paying.
Okay,
It's accounting for the people that were paid, that were employed at the electric company to provide electricity to the company.
I see.
That's why it's an indirect effect.
Okay.
Yeah. And induced effects are lost jobs in the county of goods and services purchased by worker wages. So you take the workers that were lost by the business, the workers that were lost by the suppliers, and you push that out into the economy as a loss. And it comes out to be 27 jobs lost in the total county, or $1,329,206 in wages only. And again, we didn't have enough time, or we weren't asked really to see how much of that money was moving into Couchiching or Cass or other counties that were nearby. But generally, not everybody lives in one county nowadays. We tend to live regionally. So the estimated total impact of wages lost in the community is $9,575,224, or 176 jobs. And that was estimated using Implan. Additionally, secondary effects have been felt, or these would be the suppliers who were supplying goods and services to the shade store. And so you can see the biggest indirect impact, which is red, was in wholesale trade. So there's a lot of shipping going on with the fabric store. And then the second largest impact was induced, or wages that were being turned around in the local economy for food and drinking places. And the second one was real estate. Additionally, you have hospitals and ambulatory healthcare services that were affected. And the other professional, scientific, insurance and carriers, truck transportation, couriers, messengers, and administrative support services were all primarily indirect, meaning that they were all suppliers rather than affected by the wage loss. If that makes sense. And then the last part of the analysis that we did was using a new software we have, which is called Placer AI, because of the fabric store or the fabric outlet store that you have. And our analyst Bridget Tuck made the comment that she had heard about the outlet store as something that was tourist destination in northeast Minnesota. And so she plugged it into Placer AI and came up with the following map. And so all of the light purple areas are locations from where customers at the outlet store came to or originated from. So you had customers coming from Michigan, Illinois, Iowa, and Wisconsin, and a couple from North Dakota as well, Fargo. But the primary concentration of visitors to the outlet store were Minnesota residents. So that's just a new addition that we put on this report because we have some new software. So in reviewing this report, what data points caught your attention?
Well, it would be the trickle down effect, the induced and the indirect, because we all know,
For a total,
Yeah,
yeah.
we all know there's gonna be a trickle down effect, but how do you quantify that? So
Mhm.
I'm glad that this was analyzed in a very academic, kind of a scientific way to give us that information.
You're welcome.
But the indirect is the most important thing I know.
Yes, I would agree. So what would you? Why is that indirect important to you as a city council member?
Well, it's gonna result in reduced revenues to the city, which means we have to either conserve expenses or find other sources.
Mhm.
Tax-based operations, revenue from city water bills and sewer bills. So
Understood.
if we don't have enough to meet minimum standards, then we have to increase the levy, which is very unpopular.
Yes,
Not-
I've been through that myself.
Not desired in any way, so.
Who else do you think would benefit from knowing this information?
All of my colleagues' job is.
Chamber of Commerce, EDC,
And Scott, just so you know, I did share this with Dan.
Oh, okay, perfect.
So in case you need to go for any kind of incentives or anything in recruiting new businesses for the facilities.
Right.
He has this information.
Okay, well, thank you.
So I just did some granular, numbers for the direct effects of those 116 jobs at those wages. That gives us an average annual income of $55,000 per person.
Yeah, and that includes probably benefits too.
This includes benefits.
Mhm.
That's what I was gonna ask. Is this gross wages or is this in totality?
Actually, it's gross wages, I think.
Okay.
It doesn't include benefits. Yeah, it's gross wages. I remember her saying that before.
No benefits. So I think the preliminary report, I thought it seemed high to me. But I didn't understand how much in totality was included in that number.
Mhm. Are there any other questions about the report or my presentation?
What do you think the city council should do with this?
I think I really strongly encourage you to reach out to Dan and talk through some recruitment options. Because, they know, and, they hear from probably David Hengel about businesses that David Hengel is trying to recruit to Bemidji. And if they don't think there's a good fit in Bemidji, so maybe like have Blackduck as a secondary option or even as a primary option, depending on what their requirements are. But I think Dan would really help, he can help with like, identifying incentives that you guys can provide. There's a limited amount of incentives I think the Headwaters Commission can provide. And, if you do have some issues with like covering some of the cut, like the loss of like the revenue from the shade store that are not included in this report, I'm sure the Northwest Minnesota Foundation and the Headwaters Regional Development Commission can work in some sort of financing, emergency stopgap financing situation if you get into that position. If you do find a person that's interested in the business, I would strongly recommend you refer them to Dan and to Philip Knudsen at the Northwest Minnesota Foundation for consultation on layered financing, because they can, the Northwest Minnesota Foundation, besides being a foundation, is also CDFI, which means it's a community financial institution. That means that it can take a position on a loan or a grant. It can take a position on a loan to a new business. So it can be a first position, or second position, or third position, and so can the Headwaters Regional Development Commission. So, and the EDC can do the similar thing. But it's just more people at the table that can offer money to this new business to help it start off on a good foot in Blackduck.
From the Blackduck revolving fund. Could also be a
Mhm.
push bid,
Exactly.
depending on how many, yeah, financiers.
I think, the foundation through its bids through the SBDC can do some gap funding. So they're really helpful.
And they probably have a larger pool.
Yeah.
On their financing than the city does.
Does that answer your question? Okay. Well, are there any other questions or inquiries that you have or curiosities about my work?
How long you doing it?
I've been doing this for 15 years.
Well, like I said earlier, before the meeting began, I'm happy that your position exists. I had no idea this service was available. I was
I'll-
surprised to see it on the agenda. I'm happy to see it.
Yeah, there's actually, if you look on page 5 of the PowerPoint presentation, there's a listing of all of our programs under, in the bottom section. So these are all the different programs we offer in community economics. And they include retail trade analysis, homegrown entrepreneurship, market area profiling, economic impact analysis, connecting businesses to communities, or BR&E, business succession and transition planning, visitor profiling and mobile data analysis, at-your service customer service training, tourism assessment, marketing hometown America, welcoming communities assessment, resident recruitment and retention, which is an online cohort, connecting entrepreneurial communities conference, leading economic transformation online cohort, public value of public programs, the transfer of wealth program, and the forward workforce development program.
And can you send your version of your PowerPoint with your notes, because the one that I got doesn't have those details. You just share it with the council.
Yeah.
Because the bottom part, I don't know.
We don't have it.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So this was AI generated, the tourism effect?
Yes,
Cause I mean, the color coding on it is a little. The numbers seem like, 85 to 322 visits. That seems like a big range.
the 322 is a dark purple, I think, on that one. So it's like it's a really close market that you have. But I think the 85 is more in greater Minnesota. And then the 1 or 2 or 5 or 6 are out in the other states. We're still experimenting with the data and validating it, so stay tuned.
Well, everybody I, talk to says, what a draw it is and how many people are coming in this, to, use the quilt shop and buy their fabrics there, Joann's is closed. And so
Yeah.
I mean, you hear about it, but I mean, it's nice to see the numbers, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's a factor. I mean, there, at least once a year, I see a tour bus left out in front of the store. you know,
Mhm.
Full of people that are coming just for that.
It's the shop hop.
Yep.
Yeah, I talked to people in Bemidji who tell me, oh, I was just in Blackduck, earlier today or whatever at the quilt shop, patronizing the dentist, so.
Mhm.
it's
So that
definitely a draw.
information doesn't include people that don't live nearby and just order stuff from there. I would assume, right?
Correct.
This place are it's tracked by your phone.
Yes, it's what AI tracks by mobile phone. So there could be people traveling here with their mobile phone turned off that you never hear about because their mobile phone is turned off.
Very.
Do you have anything else that you are curious about?
Do you have a card, Ronnie? Or
I
is there a-
believe so. There's some in here somewhere.
Anybody else have any other questions?
Are you based in Crookston?
Yeah, but I travel the entire region. My service area covers, Clearwater, Beltrami, Lake Lewis County, and everything west. And then Norman and Monoman County and Clearwater County and everything north.
You drove here from Crookston today?
Yep.
Well, thank you. That's quite a distance.
I wanted to meet you guys, because I've heard the speed, but I wanted to meet you guys.
That's quite a distance.
Thank you.
Yeah,
With-
all your
With
emails.
that said, are you happy you came?
So I'd like to thank you for coming, and I'd like to thank that guy for arranging it.
That's not good.
You're very welcome, everybody, and I hope you have a productive meeting.
Thank you. Safe trip back. to
Thank you.
Crookston.
All right then.
Until you see the actual numbers, you don't realize how much of an impact that has, but it's nice to see what's.
You're welcome. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email me and, or give me a call.
That's probably.
Yeah.
That doesn't include the impact to our school
Yeah.
district.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. When our enrollment numbers go down at the school, the school gets less money and they're allowed to, so.
Okay. Item 4, consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be passed in one council motion. Unless there's something you need to remove for further discussion.
I'd like to remove E and O.
E and O.
Wait, one, oh, one, it's the vote. I don't have it in my packet.
Okay. Don or Nick, do you guys have anything? Okay.
You put tonight's agenda minus even though.
Motion for tonight's consent agenda. Minus the items E and O. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. It is passed, minus E and O. Ron, to your question.
Yeah, E, the fund balance report, I just had a entry on there. It didn't make sense to me, but it looks like, we had a beginning balance toward the bottom in the liquor fund of 92,500, and we booked 98,500 expenses in 1 month. bill reports and that resulted in a $6,000 negative balance, I assume.
Their actual bills, Ron, were 93,580. That total includes the transfer noted below on that report.
Okay. So we're overdrawn by 6,000, so to speak, in that account.
That is accurate.
Yeah.
You could deny the transfer and that would put them positive.
So not being an accounting, or is that ending balance gonna be carried through the rest of the year? Will be negative in there all year, or?
No, because they're not closing their doors. They're still taking in money.
Okay.
But April's not, April, May, March are not busy months. So they didn't, I mean, they had a good month. They were above last year in terms of sales, but not enough to pay for all the expenses. And that also includes any wages or benefits that came out for the month of April as well.
But I don't recall seeing a number that large for a month. Is that 98,000 is normal?
Oh, keep watching. Keep watching. You'll see June and July be even more. The other thing you need to remember is that opener is this Saturday. So just like deer season, the liquor store is gonna start buying up larger quantities of beer. So their inventory levels are gonna get higher. So that's due prior to, because we're in that 30 days. So those bills will, be increased. I think if you looked at the liquor income report, you'd probably
And-
see quite a number, quite an increase in cash going out to, cost of goods to beer compared to last month.
Those two fryers that needed to be repaired. Is that part, was that on this?
No, that was on the month before. That was in March. But this is the month that we pay our workers' comp liability in full and half of our property and liability. So this is, because that's due by June 1, so this is a very large bill batch. Share of the workers' comp. $14,350 going to LMCIT alone, so you drop that down. But yeah, I mean, if you look at the individual numbers to some of our liquor vendors, Vernix is getting over 10 grand, Johnson Brothers 55, McKinnon 10,000, Performance Foods, which supplies a lot of our food for resale, 9 grand, Phillips 65, Southern Glaciers 77, US Foods 53. So those are all very large amounts to go to those very vendors, which supply the majority of the liquor store.
Okay, well, it just seemed like a large amount to me, and I saw the $6,000 negative balance. That's why I brought it up.
Yeah. I mean, if you're uncomfortable with the liquor store going into a negative cash balance at this point after the bill batch, you could deny the transfer to keep them more positive. Also keep in mind, last Friday was payroll, pretty sure. No, this Friday was payroll. So we're also have 2 payrolls coming out in May as well. So that's also going to be a substantial hit to all the funds this month coming in. So when I provide you guys your fund balance report, that's the cash balance as of today, not just through the end of the previous month. So any revenue the liquor store took in from the 1st of May to now, or excuse me, till yesterday is in here. I try to give you guys the closest cash in that beginning balance. That's reflective on it.
Okay. Then on the other issue, business credit card, I just took note, I know in January we spent 2,000 on postage, and I see we're now going another 1,000. That just seems Have we already used up 2,000 of postage?
No.
2,000 now? Hey,
Okay, so here's the deal. Paige wants to get ahead of the increase that's gonna happen on July 1,
okay,
cause regular postage stamps are gonna be 75 cents a piece.
are going to be 75 cents.
Pretty sure that's the next step, cause right now they're 68.
So imagine if you had your newspaper mail.
And then our postcard stamps for utilities, when, gosh, 5 years ago, they were only 40 cents. I think they're almost half a buck now. So Paige is just trying to spend up what we've got budgeted in postage so that we can get ahead of the increase too.
The factor there is they're all stamps now, I believe, are forever, so it's.
Correct.
Correct.
So it doesn't matter what the increase
Yeah.
is. We don't have to like
so
stick
that-
two
that'll
on
be
there.
good years.
Hopefully, this will be the last time we need to buy any, but, she also orders them online because the office down the street doesn't supply enough. Usually when we go in for 5 rolls of stamps, they don't have that many. Really give us.
All right, so hopefully this will be a.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the DMV is not utilizing the money for this postage, that you see reflected on the business credit card. We're paying those daily out of our petty cash. These are things that we're ordering just specifically stamps for. Bills that we mail out to and,
All right,
anything more on that? I didn't do that.
Would you like to make a motion?
make a motion that we approve items E and O on the consent agenda.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. E and O on the consent agenda are approved. On to item 5, the Blackduck Forum. Is there anyone here for the Blackduck Forum? Anyone for the Blackduck Forum? Being none. We can move to reports, of committees and staff. I don't see Mike.
No, but you have what's up here because they have 2 things they need to talk to you as well.
Well, first one, we'll talk about the public hearing, so as part of the updating the wellhead protection plan, we have to have a public hearing, so Christine is going to publish that. And we'll have it at the council work session. And that's one that we have to have some minutes, because what the council will do is they're recommending this move forward to the Department of Health and then publish and solicit comment. And so we'll need that either in a resolution or a formal motion. We know you don't do that at work session, so at least we can have a public hearing during work session, and then following council meeting, we'll get the resolution or the formal recommendation passed.
Okay.
So that's what that is, and it'll be a short presentation we'll have to give. I would anticipate maybe 20 minutes, I think, at the most.
At the work session, Duncan will be here then, right?
What's that?
Duncan will be here at the work
At the
session,
work
yeah.
session.
Yeah.
You'll take care of that, your presentation partner?
Yep. So that's that topic. Any questions on that?
So this letter that we're reading, that's what you are gonna publish?
I already published the
It's got the
notice,
date on it.
I already published the notice.
That's wrong date.
I know, I've updated it,
Okay,
that it's been changed. This isn't, what you guys got was an old letter, but it is in today's. It was in Saturday's paper notifying the public for the work session date to be the public hearing. It originally was supposed to be tonight.
Yeah, well, Duncan asked me about that, but I don't think he had that. Every time you do a proper notice.
Not the notice part. I mean, I have the sample of the letter since February,
Okay.
but I don't think we circled back to when the date would be.
Okay.
And then it was too late by the time I had already been on vacation. So we'll leave it on the 19th.
And then the second part of that is to wrap up the amendment, or to wrap up the work that we're doing. There is going to be some additional work. I don't know why the department of health decided to change. They've asked for a different process. And internally, they've submitted it and turned it over to more internal staff for review. We found out we're the only second city in the state that the department of health has done that, and I don't know why. We don't have any major issues with number two, so I don't know why they did it. And then we asked them to read and get a response as to why. So, but at least they did give us good guidance on how to address the additional comments that have come out of that, so. We let the space then be, well, so we can satisfy the requests. So we just had in our original proposal that we would do it as additional time, but ours, I make sure that people are. So.
Council needs to consider approving this so that Lisa can
Yes.
bill hours for it.
Well, thanks for bringing it right out, Tim. Because I think that, you know, it's probably one of those, since we didn't have very many issues, that's keeps it simple on their end or something, I don't know. Can I get a motion on this?
I move we approve the proposal from Woodset for the additional $1,800 as outlined in their May 1st letter for the wellhead protection plan.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thanks, Tim. Go right to Christina.
So just like discussed in the work session, I've provided the donation request for Blackduck after prom. It's just this past Saturday night. I believe attendance was almost 100 kids from what I've heard from a couple of people, so my son went, had a good time. And yeah, I'm sure this will help them make up anything that they couldn't get. So I did provide, like Ron had stated, what our donations have been in the past. The last 2 years has been 1,000, on average, it's been about 1,000, so I would entertain any approval of a donation to them.
Okay.
And I believe, well, our budget this year is based on what we gave last year to all requesters, is that
Yes,
right?
Ron,
So
that's-
we wouldn't be going over budget by this donation.
That is correct.
Well, I would move we approve the after prom donation request in the amount of $1,000 again.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second on the donation. Is there any further discussion?
Good for the kids to have a safe.
It is, thanks. Good deal. The big question was, did Christina chaperone?
Heck no.
Yes.
Eight kids.
The bigger thing is, next year, we should do a dunk tank with the mayor.
You're just gonna keep milking that. Well, then I'll call for a vote on it. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, the prom donation is approved.
Very good. Thank you. The next item I have for discussion is our continued effort on permitting chickens. I took the feedback from the work session, provided to Joe Langle. provided you some of his feedback and the red line of what I've presented to the council last meeting. Couple of things to note, he did put in the request of Nick to ensure you had adjoining property owners support. Ron's big question about the residential versus inhabited, he changed it to the residential. And he also updated our application to have signature lines and undersigned from neighboring parties for the applicant to fill out. I like what feedback I got from Joe. I believe that this is a solid ordinance at this point, and if the council doesn't have any further questions, I'd like to move forward with the first reading at the work session. And if I can, then I can get the final reading on June 9th, and I can get that in the paper here very soon.
We paid our attorney the hourly rate to make it right. That's good enough for me, but
That must make, okay,
hopefully he's keeping us legal.
well, that's the goal.
Okay, fantastic.
So we can do our first reading. The
Yeah,
work session.
it's tomorrow's Tuesday, so I should be able to get the notice in the paper even this coming Saturday, which is plenty of time to get it ahead of time for
Okay,
the work session. That's really all I have tonight. A couple of meeting reminders, and citywide cleanup registrations are still coming in. I only have like half a dozen people so far registered, but
I referred a couple more to the website, so.
great. I thought I got a couple of Facebook responses as to how to sign up, and told them go to the website, scroll down to the main page, it's right there. Spoke to a couple people in regards to if they don't have qualifying items, we'll just leave it there, and they said yes, and they were fine with that. They just weren't 100% sure. Otherwise, that seems to be going well. Just a reminder, May 26th is Memorial Day, so this office will be closed. And then again, June 9th will be our June city council meeting, so. Recap from April, Paige and I were pretty much passing in the night. We had a lot of time in, time out for ourselves, and a lot of individual days that we were working. Very, very busy month, as you can tell from our income statement. Just Thursday and Friday alone, last week, we did over 20 grand in sales, just on the DMV side alone. So just like I said at the last meeting, I'm gonna start ramping up to looking at probably getting somebody in half-time or 2 days a week. So, but the month was busy. The park is open just about, and will be open for this coming weekend. Beach gates are open, golf course is open. We are full on into summer at this point.
We want to hear.
Yeah, and everything I think has transitioned, but you know, there'll all be some hiccups between being closed and being open, but lots of phone calls for the campground now that it's hot. Everybody wants to get their reservations in.
What service line application for the project priority?
I did get the PPL in, and I did get an automated response that it was accepted, so that is done, made that deadline. I got a lot of stuff done in a very short amount of time, Tim.
I see that.
I came back full running.
Who's kind of heading up the pickup date?
I told the planning commission, you're talking the citywide cleanup, right?
Right,
I told the planning commission last month that, after the council meeting, like a week before, I'd reach out to them, let them know how many registrations we had and see who is available and who is not. John definitely is, and it's all going to hinge on how many registrations we get. So, John and I are definitely in. I think Ron is in, and I think Kurt is in too. I don't think Ernie will be here, so I think I have almost full force from the planning commission to help out. And since it's on a Thursday, and if we don't double our registrations by next week, because the 15th is next Thursday, we might be in and out in half a day. Anything else from you guys?
I had a question on something that you reminded me of about the park.
Yeah.
Our host agreement was in
Yes.
the consent agenda.
Yes,
Who does the duties that they would do for the 2 week periods that they're not there?
the public works guys do.
Okay, so our salary guys
Yeah.
or hourly rate guys.
Yeah.
Things don't pile up for 2 weeks.
No, and they've got MDH responsibilities to do to get the park open anyway, so they're down there quite a bit and they're grading roads and they're mowing lawns and that type of stuff. Our park hosts' responsibilities are not that and are not as large, so this year Beth is cool with being here the whole summer. If she can go back and forth from her home location to here and keep her camper there, so the dates I think are gonna work out better, because last year she was only here until like mid-July, and then August and half of July was open, which isn't a big deal, but
it does help with
the
keeping things quiet.
the people that are there just like having somebody to ask a question to if they need it, and Beth's been great the last 2 years. She loves it. She has old friends here, people that stay at Tomahawk, so it's been working. Anything else, you guys?
Chamber activities are coming or?
Jumping out, well, the garage, the citywide garage sale, you can register for that, get on the map. It's on the chamber's website, you can email Tara. On that. And then there's a ditch cleanup. That everybody can come with. Again, I'm not gonna be around. That's why I was wondering who's gonna spearhead the pickup stuff.
I knew you weren't gonna be around. That's good. And Don, you said you were available that Thursday.
I can be.
Yeah, I'll let you know
Just
it.
gotta let me know, so.
I'll let you know what ends up being at the end of this week.
Thursday and Friday.
We'll see what happens by the end of this week. Yeah, let's get well done first.
Yeah, I asked
Oh.
Max about it. He goes, I don't know. You could. So we better ask him.
100%
Yeah.
sure.
We better ask him.
Yeah, no, just ask me. I've got all the registrations. So,
Everybody's computer's working good? All right. Well, then, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. All in favor?
Hey.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you.
First, then we stand,
What's that?
you have to do a little slide, you can bring your. Mine's over there.